You're listening to the Live the Dream Media Network, Arizona's premier live podcast studio and online radio.
What's up, guys? My name is Veronica, also known as Coach V, and I am your host for the Oversharing podcast with Live the Dream Media. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Oversharing podcast. My name is Veronica, also known as Coach V, and welcome back to Tuesday Talks with whoever's on the schedule today, but I'm super excited to have her. We are going to dive right in, so we'll cut to a quick sponsorship break and be right back. All right, guys, you guys know that I have been gluten-free for a few years now. It was a hard transition at first, but that all changed when I met the owners of Gourmet Girls. They are amazing. They are located on North Oracle Road. They have a full gluten-free menu as well as an amazing bakery. I love their biscuits and gravy, and if you have a little bit of a sweet tooth, you gotta go in and check out their gluten-free cupcakes. Mine is definitely, my go-to is the carrot cake, and Ernie knows that when it comes to holidays and birthdays, he's got to go over there and get myself a sweet treat. They've got sourdough, pizza dough, gluten-free almond flour tortillas. They've got everything and anything that you need if you are gluten-free. They are amazing and locally owned here in Tucson. Make sure you give them a visit. Again, they are at 5845 North Oracle Road. Tell them Veronica from the Oversharing podcast send them so they know that we send you guys. So thank you so much, Gourmet Girls, for being a sponsor on the Oversharing podcast. It's the new year, and the team at Pursuit Fitness is ready to help you reach all your health and wellness goals. With over 14 in-house personal trainers, as well as an in-house PT, an amazing top-notch facility, and modern equipment, you can be sure that you'll find a trainer that is a perfect match for you. We cannot wait to work alongside you in helping you reach your fitness goals this year. You can find Pursuit Fitness on Instagram at Pursuit Fitness AZ, or call them directly and visit their website at pursuitfitnessaz.com. This episode of the Oversharing podcast is brought to you by About Me Hair Studio. With 2 amazing locations in Central and East Tucson, the About Me team is ready to style and serve you. Whether you need a new cut, color, or style, the amazing team at About Me is ready to make this experience all about you. Mention Podcast 10 and get 10% off your first service. I'm really excited to tell you guys all about Golden Roofing AZ. It is the perfect time to get your free roof inspections through the winter so you're not caught scrambling through the dreaded monsoon season. Golden Roofing offers services on any type of roof, tile, shingles, flat, and metal. Make sure you let them know you heard about them on the Oversharing podcast to receive 10% off your repairs. You can find them on Instagram at Golden Roof AZ or contact them directly with their website. All right, guys, our next guest has found a passion in finding beauty in women of all shapes and sizes. She serves her community through the art of photography and is amazing behind the lens. She specializes in posing feminine photography and holds space for the style of boudoir. She empowers women to show up as who they are, but brings them to life through her talents. With close to 20,000 followers on Instagram, it is easy to see how she is such an inspiration to so many women, including myself. Please welcome to the Oversharing podcast, the owner of Goddess Rising, Elisa Valdés.
Ooh.
Hey guys, we missed the claps today. What the heck is going on back there? Delayed. Usually we have some like a button. It's like, hey. Oh, there it is.
It's okay. We'll just join in.
Thank you so much for coming. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
How was your drive?
It was good. It was chill. It was nice. I got a coffee. I looked at,
the
nothing.
desert.
Yeah. There's like nothing out here,
Yeah.
Driving out here to Tucson. So
It's been a while since you've been down here.
It's been a while.
We talked about how you said Phoenix is growing. Tucson has done an immense amount of growing. Since I've been here, but lots of cute coffee shops, lots of really good restaurants. So maybe you and your fiance need to come down here for a weekend.
I love it. Yeah.
Maybe do like a full photo shoot weekend.
Yeah.
Because he does video.
Yeah.
I love that. We'll get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How did you get started in photography? What do we need to know about Elisa?
Oh, all of the things. Where to start? So I started photography incredibly young, like 11, 10 years old. My dad actually taught film. So he was a science teacher, but during the summer, he did summer school and he taught film. So I grew up in a dark room, developing 35 millimeter, all of that. And that really inspired and, lit up the spark of like exposure, photography, play, trial and error and all of the things. It wasn't until college that I was like, hey, I'm going to buy like my first camera
ever.
Yep,
Yeah.
the DSLR. And it was like $400, $500. And as a college student, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so proud. And I said, we're going to start here. We're going to dabble. And if I continue, then I will just continue to invest. But I have a background in healthcare and I was in school for nursing. So like to pivot from
complete 360.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I met you in a time, I think it was pretty close. I think it was like 2019, 2020 when I started following you on Instagram. Those of you that don't know, I did post a few pictures on my story that you took because I've shot a couple times with you. And then I did like we did like a mini mentorship there for a second when you were still shooting out of your house. But at that time, you were getting ready to transition from, I don't know if you were working at a hospital at the time, to full-time self-employed.
Yeah.
What was that jump like? What made you finally pull the trigger? Because I feel like we talked about it, and I remember saying, I always tell people, I'm like a self-employed picker. I'm like, you got to go do your own thing, girl. Like, why are you wasting time? Go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a pivot. It was like kind of one of those things that I would have never thought about doing this.
Yeah.
Like this was always a hobby. It was always a passion. And I had someone in my life at the time that was like, do you want to be a businesswoman or like, do you want to keep this as a hobby? And I was like, oof.
Yeah.
That's a little tough love there.
Yeah.
But a girl needed it.
Yeah.
When I did not get into nursing school, and I was working at the hospital and I was a case manager. And I was like, wow, like, what am I going to do with my life now? I went through like a serious depression. I was like, what do I do? What's my calling?
Why didn't I get into nursing school?
Yeah. So then I was like, what if I did this? What if I did photography as a living? And never thought that would be possible. And I kind of started, I went to this like conference, this like influence conference, and I was like, they said 90 days, like give yourself a 90-day challenge. I was like, fuck, okay.
Okay, 90 days right now.
Can I cuss on
Yes,
this?
1,000%. We cuss a lot on here.
All right, perfect.
I've been trying to be better, but
Yeah.
yes, we do.
Okay. So I gave myself 90 days. Okay, 90 days, start a business, create a name, get an LLC, get a website going, all of the things. And I did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how to run a business, but like we're gonna
learn.
Yeah, we're gonna learn. Jumped out of the hospital in 2020. And I didn't know what the hell to do with myself. I was lost. I was confused. I had all this extra spare time that I didn't know what to do with. COVID hits. I'm like, oh man, I should probably get a job. Got a job in medical sales. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll learn how to pitch or like,
something that'll be beneficial to my business.
Right. Hated it. Well, take that back. I loved it. I made a lot of money working from home during a pandemic. I was so blessed. But then all of a sudden, this like feminine movement just like arose and women were going through divorce, they were going through domestic violence. They had to sit with themselves during quarantine and just sit with everything that they didn't like about themselves or that they wanted to change in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And body image and feeling confident was one of those things, So all of a sudden, Goddess Rising is just like booming.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. Like,
did you pick the name right off the bat, Goddess Rising? Like that was the first name you ever picked for your business?
So when I first started photography in college, I was NV Photography, and it's just my initials. It's my first, middle, and last name. And then when I started like having to really create a business model and passion and movement, I was like, gosh, like what am I gonna do? And one of my clients was like, you're all about like the feminine energy, you know, like you're all about that goddess. And I was like, oh, but goddess, the word itself is so overly done. Like,
or like sometimes overly used, like all of a sudden you walk down the street and there's a nail parlor and it's like goddess nails.
Yeah.
Because they just picked it,
Something. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I was like, what if I like change the wording up? And I was like, oh, goddess, the U-S instead of E-S-S. And I was like, we're goddesses. The U.S. stands for a unity of women rising together.
I love that so much.
And I was like, that's it. I was like, I looked it up. It was available as an LLC. It was available as a .com. I said, we need to claim this.
Right now, yeah.
And
And that was a start.
And that was a start.
When you started photography, did you just do like boudoir? Did you start with like your senior sessions, your family portraits, all that stuff.
That's where we all start.
Yeah.
It is.
That was one of the hardest things. Like, a lot of people don't know that. And you asked me right now, am I still doing photography? And I do it for people that ask for like their senior portraits. And I remember when I went and did the mentorship with you, I was like, I don't know what my niche is. And the tough love that you gave me, and you probably don't even remember, was like, you like boudoir as well, and you like Western fashion. And she's like, you said, well, why can't you be like the Western fashion boudoir person in Tucson? And I was like, you're right. So I did a lot of Western fashion photography for a little bit. And then I kind of switched gears to like the minis and more of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like the second you find your niche,
Yeah.
the way that you want to roll and what the message is behind it, everything becomes so much easier because then you hold it a little closer to your heart.
Yeah.
Like for you, it was the unity of women. So tell us a little bit about, so that was born through, again, what you're saying happened through the pandemic, but how did you like blow that up? Because you did blow up like quickly.
What is meant to be for you will be for you.
I love that.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you just, like, you said, like, I'm this Western fashion boudoir, photographer. If that's your style, that's your niche, it will follow you, it will flow to you, and you will fall so deeply in love with it that it's all that you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's how, it was so weird. Like, yeah, I feel like I kind of just, like, blew up, got into it at a really great time, and just had a lot of different offerings that women just needed in their life, and I needed.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street there.
What is your favorite part about photographing women?
Oh, women are so powerful. We're the best.
Yeah.
The variety of women, the style of women. I think boudoir is so beautiful that you could be whoever you want to be in that moment. If you want to be this dark dominatrix queen, matrix, girl, tie me up.
I'll tie you up.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you want to be soft feminine, you can be that
also.
too. You can be a mom breastfeeding and still be a sexual and sensual being. Like, you can be multifaceted, and that's what women are, and I love that.
Yeah. I think that describes your photography perfectly because not one person looks like the other in any way, but I feel like the artistic part of you was also something that I struggled with. I don't ever feel like I've ever been like a really artistic person, but the way you would set up the backdrops, and I remember the one that I tagged you in where I had like the flower garter. I think you made that or someone helped you make that. And I was like, I don't know how your brain has these all wonderful artistic ideas and just makes them come to life. And then you put them with a woman and it just freaking blows out of the water.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you are an artist. We all are.
Yeah.
We all are. Like, I'm reading this book. Oh my gosh, what is it? It's like The Artist's Way or something like that. And they talk about that. Like, if you enjoy a color, if you enjoy certain things, like, we're all artists. It's all about creating something. You know, making a cup of coffee. How do you make your cup of coffee? That's an artist.
I think my artistic wave is Western fashion. Like, when I like getting dressed up, I'm like, okay, how am I going to piece all this together and make it look cute? But I get what you're saying. Like, everyone has some kind of artistic side. You just got to find what it is.
Yeah.
What is the hardest part about taking the leap to self-employment? Like, how did you make it happen? What's your biggest piece of advice for someone that might be thinking about leaving their full-time 9-to-5 job?
So I would say 2 advice. Number 1, allow yourself the space.
Okay.
If you don't allow yourself the space, opportunities don't have space to arise in. You know what I mean? If you never allow yourself to take that jump, to experience it fully and all that it has to offer, you'll never know what will come to you.
Yeah.
That would be my first advice. Secondly, while you're working that 9-to-5 or whatever it is that you are doing, build capital. Save all the money. Before I jumped, I saved all my photography money, and I just said, I'm going to just use that to build, grow, fund the business. And then when I feel like, truthfully, I really didn't have that much money when I jumped corporate America. I was like, I bought a house and I was like, well, I'm going to just leave my job now. I can't take it anymore. And I started a business.
You're like, excuse me. I feel like when I talk to people about going from being like a 9-to-5, either a corporate employee or you're obviously employed by somebody else, sometimes that's what it takes. And I tell people, you're either going to sink or swim. And most people swim because you don't give yourself the opportunity to even think about failure because now you have a mortgage. you got bills to pay, and you're not going to an office and sitting there for 40 hours of the week to make that paycheck. So you build the revenue a different way. You're like, I got to get moving.
Yeah.
What was the first step? Like, what did you do first? Because you just recently, the studio is only like a year roughly old, or maybe a couple years.
So this is my second studio.
Okay.
So wild, because we went from shooting in my living room.
Yeah, because the mentorship that I did with you, we did in your living room, and it was wonderful. Like I had so much insight. Like I have some pictures of you somewhere in a camera roll, but we did it in your living room.
Yeah,
and you shot there a lot too.
Yeah.
Is that where you started?
I started there. When I went full time, like this is what we're doing, I started there. And, no one cared.
Yeah.
Like they felt at home, if anything. And it's about the experience and the outcome. So I started there. Then I started renting studios, and I was like, this is fun. Like you have different backdrops. You can do a variety of different styles. But then I felt like I was taking away the full customer experience from my clientele of like, you've rented from studios.
Yeah.
Things get busy. Things get booked. People are walking into your session like, oh, sorry, wrong room. And I'm like, oh, this is like very intimate. I have a naked woman here. Like,
you can't just walk in.
You can't just walk in.
Yeah.
So
also it's expensive. Like it gets expensive over time.
It gets very expensive.
Yeah.
And that was my turning point. I was like, wow, like I could have my own space at this point and have access to it whenever and have whoever. So I started working with my makeup artist. She started off with a client and she's like, I really want to work with you. Her name is Yaz Roque, incredible makeup artist. And she was like, I want to do your glam. And she's like, totally complimentary. And I was like, oh, okay. So she did it. And I was like, you need to do this.
All the time.
All the time. Every single day. I was like, you are incredibly talented. And we kind of like pivoted around the same time. She was working a job and then she went forward and started her business. And then I said, hey, do you want to be like my suite mate? Like you already work with me and my clients. Like, why don't we just share a space? So we got a very tiny space, like not even 600 square feet.
Yeah.
And then, I was like, oh my gosh, we're doing so much. We're having parties and Galentine's, all this stuff. And I was like, I think it's time for us to like upgrade.
Get a bigger space.
And she's like, okay. And this was last year. Oh my God, I've almost been in my new studio for a year.
For a year.
And so I reached out to my landlord and I was like, hey, if you have something available. He's like, I have something right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay.
Of course.
And I was scared shitless. I was like, wow, I definitely see the overhead. This is a bigger responsibility. And, you just take a risk.
Yeah. And she went with you too.
And she went with me too.
So she does all the makeup for
all my clients.
All your sessions. Mm-hmm. Cool. Is she in-house and does other clients as well? Or Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
So we always have a flow of women coming through.
Yeah.
Our clients, my clients, our clients. It's great.
Everything.
Yeah.
Tell us about the sand dune retreat. First of all, hold on. You did a retreat yourself. You went somewhere. Did you go somewhere?
Yes.
Costa Rica, maybe? What am I thinking? Where did you go?
I did a couple of retreats. I co-hosted one last year in Tulum, Mexico.
That's okay. I know there was a beachy one.
Yes. And then I attended one this past summer in Washington for another photographer. I wanted to attend an actual photography retreat. So that's where I attended.
What was the one in Tulum like?
So the one in Tulum was a woman's like wellness retreat. So I did, what I do, body empowerment. We had a yoga instructor who did her portion of the retreat. And then we had a personal trainer who did daily workouts, booty boot camp type of thing. Mm-hmm. We did the cenotes. We did, the whole thing that like Tulum has to offer.
Yeah. That's amazing. How many women went out there?
5. I think there was 5 of us.
I love that.
Yeah.
What was the difference between you coordinating to like you attending the one in Washington? I've always wanted to do a women's retreat.
Yeah.
But I'd like to go somewhere tropical. And I have to find like the right one. Like you don't just go to a retreat. Like it has to be something that's along the lines of like what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So what were you looking for and what were the women looking for by coming to your retreat in Tulum?
2 totally different industries. Mm-hmm. One was based for strictly photographers. And that's what the one I intended.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be around like-minded individuals who are in my industry. You know, that's how we grow as individuals and humans, like surrounding yourself with like-minded peers.
Yeah.
So that was a personal one. And then the one that I co-hosted in Tulum, it was more wellness. It was, you know, body empowerment. Let's move your body. Let's strengthen your body. Let's go somewhere tropical. You know, people want to do things and experience life, but they don't want to travel alone. So I think retreats are a perfect opportunity to get out of your comfort level, stay with a whole bunch of women that you've never met before. No. And travel and go somewhere, you know, cool.
Yeah. I love that. I had like that similar experience of when I went to Portugal. Like I wanted to go on something like by myself.
Yeah.
And it was nerve-wracking. But I think a women's retreat is definitely a good way to like step out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
I think that you also are allowed to either one, you could definitely be another version of yourself that no one's ever met because these people don't know you, right?
Yeah.
Or you can show up authentically as yourself with all these people that are trying to maybe do the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's really interesting to find something that's for you.
Yeah.
You know?
I was thinking about on my drive up here that, you know, like even like my sand dune experiences, you know, I do that as a 2 to 3 day retreat in New Mexico. And then I have like little day retreats, the California dunes. And I'm like, wow, like it's pretty crazy. Like I invite 3 women to jump in my car. I provide transportation and none of these women have ever met most of the time.
Yeah.
But it's like trust in the universe that like-minded individuals who are seeking to experience, that are willing and want to be with other women.
Yeah. It's also too the security of women. Like imagine if you would have told a girl to sign up for a 3-day retreat and a man that they've never met is going to pick them up. Yeah, fucking right. Yeah. They're not getting in that car. So it's just the difference of like feeling safe.
Yeah.
What are ways that you make your clients feel safe? Because I've seen this too when people come in, and I always tell people, I'm like, give me like 15 minutes and I got the full glam idea from you. I have a friend who also does makeup and hair. She's amazing. Her name is Anna. And I now make it mandatory. Like you have to get hair and glam because I feel like when you see yourself in that light, it's so vulnerable, but that extra like volume of hair and makeup and just feeling so alive. And then I tell them like, let me pose you in something that's usually very nice for everybody. And then I show them a picture and it takes just one picture and then they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So how I feel like you taught me a lot of this because your posing is how I got comfortable with posing my clients. But how do you create that space for someone that's like so nervous, like has never done this before? How do you encourage them and get them to kind of calm down?
Yeah. I treat them like a sister. I treat them like a friend. Like we're just 2 girls about to have a grand time and really just taking the lead on posing. That's the number one thing that people feel the most uncomfortable. Where do I look? What do I do with my face? I have a resting bitch face, all of the things. And it's just like reassuring, like, I got you. Like, do this, do that, you know, and having that very strong, like, kind of like leadership of like direction on how to go, I think creates such a calming atmosphere. And then also just having fun.
Yeah.
Put on their favorite music, you know, have some wine, whatever.
A mimosa.
Yes. And just create an environment for them.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. I've only shot with one other person for Boudoir, you and one other person. And the other person she reached out to me to help her, like kind of learn just like the mechanics of creating triangles and lengthening the body and, you know, shifting the hips a certain way. So that is something that I also learned from you. And you have built a lot of like some of your business off of just like posing, like seminars and stuff.
Yeah.
How did you get into that? Was that like just like the way that you learned through clients, or did you practice with yourself? Like how did you get so good at posing? Because I feel like that's what sets you apart from everybody.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You're such a high
my girl. Once these people get onto your profile, they're gonna be like, "Dad, she's right." Like that. Your Instagram is insane.
I appreciate it. No, thank you so much. So I have a very strong background as a dancer, and I think that's just proper etiquette. Pointing your toes, rolling your shoulders back, like creating shapes that are gonna help make you look longer and like stronger and take up space. I feel like we live in a society that, you want to be like very narrow and slim and this and that. And it's like, we're women. Like, don't put us in a container. Take up space. Like, we have it. We've built it. We're power. Take it up. That's why I like my nature sessions so much, because it's like, we have all of this. All of this.
The Rosefield one is probably one of my favorites.
Mine too.
I would like that as a maternity session.
Ooh, let's manifest that.
Yes. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. Pray to Jesus. All the things. How has the art of your work changed your life?
Oh my gosh. It has connected me to faith so much, in the sense of like, believing in yourself, having other people believe in yourself, and just like having the faith that like it will always work out.
Yeah.
It will always work out in some way, in some form. And like things that you thought would never happen to you do happen to you.
Yeah. How do you take, not failure, but there's times in life and in business where things don't go the way that we want to. So how do you handle that? Because you're also a very positive person.
I appreciate that.
So how do you handle it when it doesn't go your way?
Oh, man.
I cry.
Tequila.
Tequila margaritas.
Movement. Dance has been always my therapy.
Yeah.
And I move my body and just get rid of anything that's just feeling heavy, that's just storing there.
Like the energy.
Just the energy, yeah. We got to get rid of it. But business goes through flux, and that's like one of those vows that you take as an entrepreneur. Like, there's going to be seasons that you are making, 10,000 a month. There's going to be that you're making 1,000 a month. And like, you have to accept that like there's
ebbs and flows.
Yes. And it's going to be a roller coaster, but like when it comes, it's going to come.
Have you handed off some of your business things to other people yet?
I have.
Oh, that's good. That means we're in a growing place, baby. Tell us a little bit about that. That's hard.
It is.
People don't talk about this.
Yeah.
Because once you start a business, you know that you can do something your way.
Yep.
And usually it's the right way.
Yep.
So it takes a lot to be able to hand it off to somebody else.
Yeah. And it's your baby.
Yeah.
And you've nurtured it, you've cultivated it, and like you want to just continue to baby it. But like when you are a one-woman show, you will not be able to scale your business. You cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot be doing all of the things. And it's been challenging finding somebody that you can trust and that's going to be reliable and all of the things in between. So I'm still looking to expand. There's always room for expansion, but I have a virtual assistant, Renee, that helps me, back end stuff, admin, newsletter, and
Love
just
that.
like coming to terms of someone that makes you feel safe, which she did. And you need someone that's just going to sound like you.
Yeah.
Because no one on the other side is going to know.
Yeah.
So that's one. And then one of my best friends, Lindsay, she's the very tall, slender model that's in a lot of my, photos and things like that. I brought her into the business because I'm like, wow, you were my first true model that I ever worked with. And you see how I work. Like, I want to bring you on. I trust you. So she does a portion of my editing.
Okay.
When I have big events like minis, things like that, she comes, does behind the scenes, helps get, the girls ready. When I do sand dunes, she's my, assistant, right hand, right lung, all of the things.
Yeah, all the things.
All the things.
We'll pause right there and circle right back. Guys, we're going to cut to a quick sponsor. What is wrong with my mouth today? We're going to cut to a quick sponsorship break. We will be right back. All right, guys, you guys know that I have been gluten-free for a few years now. It was a hard transition at first, but that all changed when I met the owners of Gourmet Girls. They are amazing. They are located on North Oracle Road. They have a full gluten-free menu as well as an amazing bakery. I love their biscuits and gravy, and if you have a little bit of a sweet tooth, you gotta go in and check out their gluten-free cupcakes. Mine is definitely, my go-to is the carrot cake. And Ernie knows that when it comes to holidays and birthdays, he's got to go over there and get myself a sweet treat. They've got sourdough, pizza dough, gluten-free almond flour tortillas. They've got everything and anything that you need if you are gluten-free. They are amazing and locally owned here in Tucson. Make sure you give them a visit. Again, they are at 5845 North Oracle Road. Tell them Veronica from the Oversharing Podcast send them so they know that we send you guys. So thank you so much, Gourmet Girls, for being a sponsor on the Oversharing Podcast. It's the new year, and the team at Pursuit Fitness is ready to help you reach all your health and wellness goals. With over 14 in-house personal trainers, as well as an in-house PT, an amazing top-notch facility, and modern equipment, you can be sure that you'll find a trainer that is a perfect match for you. We cannot wait to work alongside you in helping you reach your fitness goals this year. You can find Pursuit Fitness on Instagram at Pursuit Fitness AZ, or call them directly and visit their website at pursuitfitnessaz.com. This episode of the Oversharing Podcast is brought to you by About Me Hair Studio. With 2 amazing locations in Central and East Tucson, the About Me team is ready to style and serve you. Whether you need a new cut, color, or style, the amazing team at About Me is ready to make this experience all about you. Mention Podcast 10 and get 10% off your first service. I'm really excited to tell you guys all about Golden Roofing AZ. It is the perfect time to get your free roof inspections through the winter so you're not caught scrambling through the dreaded monsoon season. Golden Roofing offers services on any type of roof, tile, shingles, flat, and metal. Make sure you let them know you heard about them on the Oversharing Podcast to receive 10% off your repairs. You can find them on Instagram at Golden Roof AZ or contact them directly with their website. Hey guys, the team in the booth just let me know that we are having a little bit of technical difficulties on Facebook. So sorry. But you guys, it's a perfect opportunity to download the Live the Dream Media app, which is free, where you can listen and watch. So make sure you guys do that. Back to business. We're talking about boundaries. Those of you guys that are watching, Demi is our new social media gal. She's amazing. She's sitting back here. And she asked me to do some content either Friday or Saturday. I said no for Saturday because boundaries. And then you said, yeah, that's one of the things I've learned. That was my next question. Biggest learning curve in running a business. Have you ever had to fire a client? Or had like a bad experience with a client?
Yes, of course.
Tell me, I want to know. I want to know the story.
I have to say I'm so grateful I have not had many.
Okay.
I think in my time of being a business owner, I've had 2.
2 bad ones.
2 bad ones.
And about what?
And one of them wasn't even bad. It was an out of control scenario that had happened, like delay on shipment on, working with labs and things like that. So like it was like a third party issue.
Working with what?
Labs, photography labs.
Oh, okay.
So like an album got in late.
Yeah.
But I got situated, It's like when you're a business owner, you have to learn how to pivot and also be okay with taking a business hit. If that means like you're going to show up and, provide a form of customer service, like sometimes you have to take a hit.
Yeah.
But I had a client once, very unfortunate. She just like blocked me and never paid her session and just like ran. And I was like, ooh.
You're like, bad taste in my mouth with you.
Yeah. And I was like, we had such a good time. It was so like out of left field. I'm like, we had a great session, Did
you send her pictures?
I did.
Oh, man.
I did. I sent her the proofs.
Yeah.
So they weren't the final edit.
Yeah. Well, that's a little bit better, but still that sucks.
But things like that help you. It has to happen in business.
Because then you learn about your boundaries.
Yes. And putting policies in place. And
your deposits, non-refundable.
Yep. Having yourself protected.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest learning curves that I had starting off, like even going full-time personal training, is that things have to go wrong for you to learn a lesson and instill those policies.
Yep.
And I hear all the time with even like hairstylists, nail techs, massage therapists, anyone that provides any kind of service, people get like overwhelmed. They're like, why does she have all these policies? I'm like, she has all those policies because chances are someone has fucked it up for every single one of those policies.
Yeah.
That's why they're in place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about the Sand Dune Retreat. I know we touched base on it a little bit, but walk us through what it looks like. What to expect. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole experience.
Yes.
It is so fun. So the ones that I do in California that are a little bit more like a day retreat.
Okay.
We leave from Phoenix. I drive us to California. It's just, on the other side of Yuma. And you travel with a group of 3 women, including yourself. And I always intentionally do them on the full moon. Even though, like, let's say if it's a cloudy day and we miss the moon, her energy is still with us. And, you know, I make it into like a full spiritual, like, experience, you know. We do a full moon meditation ritual. You get these captivating images. I provide food. I provide outfits. You know, you could literally show up with nothing and, you know, I'll take care of the rest.
Yeah.
They're so fun because, like I said, it's like I always get these women, and even though they have never crossed paths, they get to cross that path that day. And like the connections and the relationships that have been built on those types of experiences and like day retreats, they're timeless and they're endless. And it's like so cool to watch that unfold on its own.
Do you have some people that literally come like fly from out of town?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where have you had people come from?
I think the furthest that I've had someone fly out from is New York.
Okay.
To attend the white sand retreat that I did in New Mexico, which was a 3-day experience. You know, we drive from here to New Mexico.
Yeah.
We stay together in an Airbnb. You know, there's yoga, there's hair, makeup, you know, the whole thing. The whole thing.
When you do your retreats in New Mexico and you have somebody that does yoga, do they travel with you guys as well?
Yep.
So it's all for like Phoenix Space Girls going to New Mexico.
Yep.
You stay at the same place?
This year we'll probably stay somewhere different. But yeah, it's kind of just, you know, finding a cute Airbnb that can fit us all and
Good for the vibes.
Good for the vibes.
Got some coffee in the morning.
Yep.
Some views in the evening.
Yep.
I love that.
Exactly.
What are your plans for 2025?
What are my plans?
What are your goals? Nah, maybe not goals. Just what are your plans? What's the plan for Goddess Rising in 2025?
I want to continue to expand. Education is definitely one. We kind of tapped on it very shortly. I would love to be more of an educator.
Okay.
I come from a family of educators, my father, my aunts, you know, and I just want to be in that role. I think like I would have appreciated having a photographer mentor when I started. And if I could give any lessons to someone else that would make their life and their transition easier, like let's do it. So that's one thing. I love the workshops. I love, you know, content days and all of that. I think it's so fun because I don't also get to, most of the time it's me and my client.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, get out into the community of our peers. And when I do workshops and stuff, that's like my chance and opportunity to also.
And create connections in a different space.
But it's important for me to like attend retreats. And that's why I did last summer. You know?
So what kind of photography did your dad do? He did film, but like just in general, anything?
People.
So does he know what you do now?
Yeah.
Does he like it?
Yeah, he does. You know, I'm so grateful. I'm blessed. I come from a family that is so body positive. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, my aunt, my dad's sister paints naked women. You know,
I
like,
love that.
That's her thing. Like you go into the bathroom and it's like, and she's like, this one's you. And I was like,
oh thanks.
Okay.
I didn't know you knew what I looked like naked.
Right. I was like, but she's beautiful, so I'll take it. But yeah, my dad, he was concerned. He, you know, like when I told him, I was like, hey, Dad, like, you know, I'm not going for nursing and I'm sorry, you know, I'm so devastated from that. Like I wanted to help people heal and I would have never thought that boudoir could be that modality for women to come out of their shell, to, you know, find themselves, be confident and just be willing. So now I think that he has seen me build a business over the last 5 years of working for myself. He's like, oh, wow, you've done well.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I keep doing well.
Yeah.
I think there's a really good message in like what you said. I wanted to heal people like through nursing, but I feel like you're healing women through photography.
Yeah.
And that's a really beautiful thing. Not a lot of people tap into that kind of gift and say, okay, maybe this isn't the way that it was supposed to go, but let me pivot and I'm going to heal people this way.
Yeah.
What do you think has been like the best story that you've heard from a client after a session? I'm sure there's plenty, but there's probably some that like rock you.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm processing.
I have a couple.
I feel like for me, and and I tell people this all the time when I do the minis, and people are like, I feel like I need to, like I want to do this, but I feel like I need to lose 15 more pounds. Or like, I have done a couple sessions with you, and then I've done a couple sessions myself, and I have purposely made myself take the pictures even when I don't feel.
You have to.
Yeah, because at some point in your life, I feel like you're going to look back and wish that you were back in that body, because our bodies are so, they're changing all the time.
Yeah.
But that's created like almost like this mental toughness in my brain where I'm like, I don't allow myself to stay there anymore. And sometimes it takes the glam, the setup, the sexy lingerie, whatever it's going to be, and then see what's captured and the beauty of it and being like, wow, like that is so beautiful. And I was so concerned about X, Y, Z, so to me, I'm always like, just do it.
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done, but I think every woman should at least once experience a boudoir photo shoot.
Oh yeah. And we're our worst critics, but like we're also our own limiting factor too. Like I'm going to do it when I lose 10 pounds and this, that, whatever. The thing is, as women, we fluctuate on a month to month, on a day to day basis, our menstrual cycle, we go through pregnancy, we go through stress, whatever, hormonal, like there's never going to be the perfect time, but like to limit yourself from having your own personal connection with yourself is like, I tell women that I'm like, don't let yourself, the mental, be a limiting factor.
Yeah.
Like you will reconnect, you will overcome. And if things come up, we'll work through it. Like it's not a big deal. I have women start bawling, crying. I'm like, I can start bawling, crying with you too right now.
Yeah.
Like, let's work through it. Get it out.
Get it out. And let's hit this next pose. Yeah. I was going to ask you, I was like, have you ever had anyone have like a full on meltdown?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Completely.
Just like from feeling like overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed, not knowing that they could look like this. I think coming to terms that they can look like this, that they, put all these boundaries and, not boundaries, but they put all these walls up, and like, it's a form of just like release of like reassurance.
Yeah.
Does
it happen during or after the photos? Or during when you show them a picture, you're like, look, this is what you look like. You look amazing. All of
it.
Yeah.
All of it. It's happened during hair and makeup. Not
like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now.
That of like, oh my gosh, I've never treated myself to something like this. As women, some of us put everyone else before themselves. So like just coming to terms of like, I'm going to do this for myself. There's so many different factors that come into it, and it's beautiful.
I do want to circle into a little bit about pole. I've always wanted to try it. But you competed recently.
I did.
Tell me. Was it in Vegas?
It was in LA.
Okay. Hold on. Look, this is a whole thing. So when did you get started?
I love pole. Oh my gosh. Please come and be an undercover hoe with us.
Is that what you're like? Look, if you don't want to do boudoir, you can be an undercover hoe
for
at
an
pole
hour.
class.
Come be your 1 hour hoe hour.
How did you start?
Oh my gosh. So
the power of pole is what we're going to call the episode.
The power. Oh yes.
The power of pole.
I love it. So I was a dancer my entire life, ballet, tap, all of the things. And then as an adult, I was like, like what am I going to get into now being,
You boxed for a little bit?
I boxed for a while. And then I was like, I'm going to get back into pole. So I did it like here and there with like my girlfriends after work. When we worked at the hospital, there was a pole studio right down the street, and I was like, let's just go. And then that ended up being like our Wednesday, like twice a month type of thing.
I love that.
We bought the shoes. It was so fun. And like they faded out of it. And I was like, no, but like this is dance. Like this is movement. And it's beautiful movement. So I was like in and out of it. And then in 2022, boudoir, I see myself as a feminine coach. It's constantly hyping you up. It's being your hype queen. It's encouraging you. It's a lot of the times like a therapy session, and I love it. And I'm so grateful that I've created this space that women can come into. But I also need a space that
yourself,
that I could be a feminine being. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get back into pole. Like boxing is so aggressive. Lifting is so aggressive. It's very like masculine type of things. And I was like, no, I want to be like the soft queen.
Yeah.
So I got into pole, and I was like, I'm going to do this every Tuesday, Thursday, and I'm not going to miss. I changed my client schedule. I was like, I'm not taking clients in the evenings. I have to go to dance. And I invested in it. And I was like, wow, this is a whole community of women. You have lawyers, you have doctors, you have mothers, you have every single multifaceted woman that come in and be a nasty hoe for an hour, and we all dress up for each other. We all show up. Oh, you got a cute little lingerie shirt. Oh, you got new shoes.
You got some new fishnets.
Yes. And it's like the sisterhood that I never had. And it's so comforting. No one judges you. We're always cheering for you. Oh, I get emotional because it's like, it's so incredible. And now like these connections, I'm like, wow.
They've opened up so many other doors.
So many doors. It's led to clients, you know, or led to me having more clients. You know, these women have tapped into their sensuality with their movement. Now they can tap into it in the boudoir form. But yeah, I started doing it and I was like, you know what? I want to compete. I didn't even know that you could compete in pole. Like, it's a whole sport.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like this takes so much strength.
Well, the thing is that people think pole and they think strippers.
Let's go to the club.
You're like, which is fine. Hey, I'll take your money. I support them. I've seen you at some of the like events and shows, and I like it's a thing. I don't know. I've always wanted to try it, and I feel like I would be strong enough to do it. But I've seen your bruises too. I'm like, damn, that shit looks hard.
It is the most abusive relationship I've ever been in. Truly, the amount of bruises that I have on a weekly basis, it is
insane, terrible.
But like once you start to see your progress and your strength, you want to keep going and going.
You said something that stuck out to me. And UDA Nationals was this weekend. Did you watch any of the performances? They were amazing. So it was like the college nationals for dance. And this girl got on and was basically sharing how she was a dancer her entire life. And you get to a point, especially in college, where people like don't compare themselves to other schools anymore because that's what they do your entire life. So like you're saying, like you found such a community like where everyone's supporting each other. And I know for a fact that the dance community growing up when you're literally like 7 is immediately like pinning you against each other. So to be able to find that space again where you're like, okay, I feel supported, you know?
Yeah.
How long did it take before you decided to compete?
A year and a half in.
And then you went straight to LA?
I went straight to LA. I conditioned for like 3 months. And I was like, you know, you pick a category, you pick a level, and you go by an age group. So it's like different like groups. I was like, I'm just going to do this. And I loved it because then it's like, okay, I do great with like, you know, we have a due date. You got to have this done. So I was like, okay, I got to condition. I got to create a routine. I got to, you know, build my tricks up, things like that. And it was great. And even in that platform of like going to I've never competed really. And doing it as an older adult, I was like, wow, everyone was so friendly, so kind, you know, and just like such an interesting like environment. It was so safe.
And you're teaching now too, aren't you?
And I am teaching now.
And you're choreographing the whole
choreographing, you know, once a week, every Monday at Sunset Pole Studio for the Phoenix girlies out there.
I'm going to have to come try it out.
Please do. It's so much fun.
Wait, on Mondays?
Mondays at 5.
Okay, I have to get the barbell moves covered, but I would love to come try it. That would be a lot of fun.
It is so fun. It's a beginner low flow, so you'll learn a routine. Each week is different. You know, I take song requests and
the whole shindig.
The whole thing.
What is the biggest thing, let's say, besides empowerment? Because I feel like you just lit up talking about pole. What else has pole taught you?
Pole has taught me, it's taught me discipline. For sure. Showing up every single week. That you are strong and that you know, the more that you show up, the better that you will gain and you will continue because there's so much to it. It's wild. Yeah. There's so many different tricks. There's so many different styles. It is a sport. It's wild.
Have you tangled that somehow into your business?
I have a little bit. Like I have had girls from the studio, you know, become clients and it's kind of mixed into that, but I want to do more with it. And I'm trying to find that happy medium because they do go together in a way. And so it's just finding that element. I was like, do I do like a pole boudoir retreat? Like
that would be kind of cool.
Right.
I'm in. Except I've never done pole before, so let me get introduced first into the intro class. We're getting close to wrapping up, but there is an important question that I want to ask you because I feel like this is one of the questions and one of the things that like people are always like on edge before they book like a boudoir session. So what would you tell anybody that's like right on the edge? Like that's like really thinking about booking, but they've got all these insecurities that they're thinking about. They're playing every bad scenario in their head. Like what would you tell that person?
I would tell them, try not to take away an experience of experiencing yourself at your best version or another version of yourself, because you will not be the same person tomorrow. You will only continue to revolve, and to be able to see yourself at, where you started to who you are now is such a beautiful, metamorphosis transition that like it should be honored in all of its phases and grace.
Yeah. It's like the same thing that goes back to meeting yourself where you're at.
Yep.
And I tell my clients that all the time, not just like in health and wellness, but there's so many times in your life where you're so focused about the next thing or what you could look like in 8 weeks or what you would look like if you lost 10 pounds. And we forget to meet ourselves like right here, and sometimes right here is where you're supposed to be. And I think that that's really difficult for people.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a client and I see her once a year and I love it. Mm-hmm. And I saw her when she was, 50 to 60 pounds heavier. Mm-hmm. And she always buys an album for herself. And I asked her one day, I was like, not that you need to give this album to man anybody or anything, but I was like, but I love that you do it. So like, why do you do it? And she's like, it's my own personal novel of myself and each phase, because I see you every year. And she's like, in every single year I've gone through something different.
And she remembers it through photos.
And she remembers it through her albums.
Does she have kids?
No.
I love that.
And I'm like, that's so dope.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, it's been amazing chatting with you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Let everybody know where they can find you, how they can book with you, how they can ask you any questions.
Yes. You can find me on the gram. It's going to be Goddess Rising. So GODDUS RISING. You can find me on my website. And yeah.
Do you have anything coming up?
What do I have coming up? I got Sand Dunes.
Sand Dunes coming up. When are those?
Yes, I have one February, March, April, and also November of this year.
Dang. Yeah. Does it get too hot in the middle of the...
Yeah, we stopped in the summer.
Sense. I still think that one of your like signature ones is definitely the river one, the Salt River ones. I love those.
I love the river.
Stunning.
Yeah, those start up in April all the way up into October.
There you go.
It's a long season.
You know where to find her, guys. Goddess Rising on Instagram. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I'm not really popular on TikTok, and TikTok is going through its own little
Did they ban you?
They did. So I had a pretty like up their account, and then
they're like, you're done.
Yeah, I was like, well, we're just going to let that one go. So
you're like, I'm good without you, TikTok. All right, guys. And you know where to find me, all things GP Soto on Instagram. Don't forget to tune in next week for our next guest. We will see you guys then. Have a great rest of your week.